Good afternoon. My name is Trey Hudd, and welcome back to Eating the Elephant on Facebook Live, where we try to break this elephant of Hurricane Michael down into bite-sized pieces. We're going to try to be pretty consistent from now on with Sunday afternoons at 4 o'clock and Wednesday evenings at 8 to give you advice and tips on how to come out of Hurricane Michael the way you should. I would hope that by now, for those of you that have seen any of our other pieces of this series, the number one piece of advice I think I can give you is don't panic. I know that right now it's beginning to be a little bit of a lull for some of us, where we had a lot of activity early on and there was a lot of cleanup going on and tarps were being put on roofs and things like that. And now some of us are experiencing a little bit of a lull. We may be waiting to hear back from desk adjusters on things, maybe waiting phone calls back from roofers. So there are some things that I think are beginning to make people a little bit nervous. What I would tell you is this is perfectly normal, as if anything is really normal in the wake of such a hurricane. But again, don't panic. If you feel like you're not getting the proper level of attention, or you feel like your wheels are kind of stuck in neutral, then you need to make a phone call and you need to advocate for yourself, as I explained before. Today, we're going to focus on two issues primarily, one of additional living expenses and one of fences and other things that are considered other structures. We've had a lot of questions about those this week as people begin to look through the fine print of their policies and focus a little bit less maybe on the roof and now some of the other things that are coming along with this claims process. First of all, for additional living expenses. Additional living expenses is a separate limit under your insurance policy apart from your building and your contents, which should compensate you for all these additional expenses that you've got. Now, what people are having a little bit of confusion about is this is not just a blank check. They don't just write you a check for the number that's in the limit of the policy. You have to show what your actual additional living expenses are, and those could be additional mileage, travel time. It could be renting a vehicle. In some cases, if you needed transportation, maybe Uber was your only way to get around for a little while. Gas for a generator, those kinds of things, and certainly rental expenses. But let me explain the way that would work. Let's say your home that you own is damaged and you have to move out while the reconstruction period happens. You still have to make your mortgage payment on that home. You don't have a choice there, but you also, in addition to that mortgage payment, would have a rent check that you're going to have to write every month to someone. And so that rent check would certainly be additional living expense. It's not something you would ordinarily have. However, if you're a renter, and let's say you have you rent an apartment at, I don't know, $1,000 a month, just for round numbers, and that apartment is destroyed, and you go to another apartment and rent it for $1,000 a month as well, there is no additional living expense there. You're having the same expense for living that you did before. Having said that, the cost of recovering your things and moving them, maybe storing them, would be additional living expenses. So just to sort of remind everybody, this is expenses that's above and beyond the norm. Now, if you, let's say, have to move out to a hotel and you ordinarily prepare meals at home, the cost of eating out every night can be pretty extreme. And that cost, less what you might ordinarily spend at the grocery store, would be additional living expense as well. So work with your adjuster, send receipts, and some people tend to send big batches, say once a month or every couple of weeks. Some people like to scan and send every one. I don't recommend that because it's just more opportunity for maybe somebody to lose something along the way, particularly you. The other thing I'm advising people to do that I think has been very helpful is, if you can, and I've mentioned this before, a lot of us carry around more than one credit card. So if you can take one credit card and dedicate it to only hurricane expenses, whether that be for building contents or additional living, you're going to find that you'll have better luck because you won't forget something. And it's not that we really have to worry about insurance companies sticking it to us these days. We have to worry about ourselves and forgetting something or losing a receipt, and we don't want to short ourselves on things. I want to move on to other structures and fences in particular because we've had so many questions about that this week. As part of your policy, you should have coverage for what's called other structures in your policy, and that could be a fence, it could be a shed, it could be a hot tub. Pools can sometimes be included in this, generally if they're above ground pools. Now, most of the time, pools that are in ground and attached to the dwelling very frequently are going to be covered as building items, but there are going to be some limitations there. There are some policies that will not pay full replacement cost on fences. There's specific language we're finding that will reduce that to actual cash value, meaning they'll pay you the depreciated cost of a fence. So if you have a wooden fence, say that maybe it's supposed to last 15 years and it's 12 years old and it's just about to fall down, frankly, you're probably not going to receive a lot of compensation for that. You'll receive a portion of what it takes to replace it. However, if you have like an aluminum or PVC fence, those tend to last a little bit longer. And if they're fairly new, you should get most of what it would cost to replace those items. There are lots of different language between different insurance companies when it comes to other structures and fences in particular. And you're going to want to take a look at the actual language in your policy. I realize that's a heavy lift for a lot of us because policy language, even for someone that does it all the time, can get a little thick and very confusing. But at that point, you need to talk to your agent. This is a really good time to make them earn their money and ask them to explain it to you. And if you're getting some kickback, either from an adjuster or from your agent about some kind of coverage, you need to be able to have them point out the exact policy language that they're referring to, because someone just saying it's not covered isn't good enough. They have to be able to put their finger on the language in the policy that says this isn't covered. And if they can't do that, chances are you have a shot at getting whatever that item is covered and paid for. What I will say in closing is we've developed some assets at our office now. We're trying to do a little bit of work in vetting contractors. That's become a little bit of a heavy lift because there's so many and they're coming at us so fast. You can help. You can be someone that is really a participant in this process. And if you have a bad experience, you need to let us know and you need to put that on social media. By the same token, if someone does a good job for you, as I've said before, you need to give them a shout out and you need to tell them that you appreciate their work, because what that'll do is that'll help the entire community. We'll all be able to spend more time and effort and money with the good contractors, and we'll chase off the bad actors that much more quickly. But we have some assets to bring to you, like we have access now on a little more direct basis to the Department of Insurance, and they've been very helpful in helping us to chase off bad actors. And we've also found some things like we talked about earlier in the week with some home inspectors and things like that you can kind of keep an eye on the process of construction, because I'm an insurance guy. I'm not a contractor, so I can help you to a point, but I don't know how to put nails in a house, and I don't know how many shingles you need. So we've got people that know those things. They know how to mold test. They know how to look at moisture. And you have to be careful, because right now we are seeing some sketchy behavior, particularly in some of the remediation contractors. They get paid the most money when they tear out the most stuff. So they want to come in, of course, and I guess if there's any question at all, then they're going to tear something out, and it may not be necessary. And while an insurance company may pay for it, it's just more upheaval in your life that you probably don't need. And I will say one more time, I've said this before over and over again, work your agent. Let them work for you. Hopefully, most of you that are watching this will have a local agent of some kind of representation. And if things are not going your way, if you feel like your wheels are getting stuck in neutral and you're not getting any response that you really should, then you need to go sit down across from their desk and look them in the eye and tell them that it's time that they went to work. And don't take no for an answer. Again, this doesn't have to be a painful process, but there is an awful lot going on out there, and you need to be your own best advocate. And if you need to bring in assistance from your agent or someone else, then you really need to do that. Stay safe out there. Again, we're going to be back. We're going to try to do this at 8 o'clock on Wednesday evenings and 4 o'clock on Sunday afternoons. And if you've got any questions at all that I haven't covered or that you think would make good topics for future Eat the Elephant series, then if you would, email them to me at Trey, Trey, @hutinsurance.com. And have a good week.